She just answers phones at the hospital. That's what my mom said. Loud enough for everyone at the party to hear. People nodded politely. Some smiled. The kind of smile that says, you didn't live up to expectations. I didn't correct her. Didn't argue. Didn't even react. Because I've learned something over the years. People will believe whatever story is easiest to understand. And mine? Mine sounded simple. Until my phone buzzed. A message I couldn't ignore. And suddenly, the same people who dismissed me were about to realize exactly who I was. In my family, success was always measured out loud. Big titles. Big salaries. Big stories you could tell at dinner tables. If it didn't sound impressive in one sentence, it didn't count. And somehow, no matter what I did, mine never seemed to count. My older brother worked in finance. My mom loved mentioning his promotions, his bonuses, the city he lived in. My cousin had a startup. My aunt talked about it like it was already changing the world. And me? I worked at a hospital. That's all anyone ever said. I never corrected them. Not because I was embarrassed, but because it was easier. Easier than explaining long hours, responsibility, decisions that didn't come with applause. Easier than watching their expressions change, then settle back into polite disinterest. So over time, I just let them believe what they wanted. That I had a simple job. A quiet life. Nothing worth discussing. The truth didn't need validation. At least, that's what I told myself. The holiday party was at my parents' house that year. Full house. Decorations everywhere. Voices layered over each other. The kind of gathering where everyone is performing a version of themselves. I showed up like I always did. On time. Dressed simply. No need to stand out. Because in that room, I never really did. Until my mom decided to introduce me. And remind everyone exactly who she thought I was. It started casually. Like most things do before they turn into something else. I was standing near the dining table, half listening to a conversation about real estate, when my mom called out across the room. "Oh, there she is," she said, waving someone over. "Come meet my daughter." A few people turned toward me. I smiled politely, already knowing how this would go. "This is her," my mom continued, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder. "She works at the hospital." A pause. Then she added, with a small laugh. "She just answers phones. Front desk stuff. Nothing too stressful." A couple of people nodded. One of them smiled in that familiar way, kind, but dismissive. "Oh, that's nice," someone said. "Stable job." My aunt stepped in right after. "Well," she added, sipping her drink, "at least it's honest work. Not everyone needs to aim so high." A few quiet chuckles followed. Not loud enough to call out. Just enough to land. I felt it. Of course I did. But I didn't react. Didn't correct them. Didn't explain. I just stood there, letting the moment pass like it always did. Because this wasn't new. This was the role they understood. The version of me that fit their expectations. Simple. Manageable. Easy to define. And for a long time, I let them keep it. Because correcting them wouldn't change anything. Not really. But this time, something was about to interrupt the story they were so comfortable telling. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Once. Then again, longer this time. Not a message. A page. I knew that vibration instantly. For a second, I didn't move. The conversation around me kept going. Someone laughing, glasses clinking, my mom continuing her version of my life like nothing had changed. I slipped my hand into my pocket and glanced at the screen. Code black. Immediate response required. Below it, a second line. Chief of neurosurgery requested. Everything around me faded. The noise. The voices. The room. Gone. There's a shift that happens in moments like that. It's not panic. It's clarity. Complete, focused, automatic. I stepped away from the group without saying anything. No one stopped me. Why would they? To them, I was just stepping away from a casual conversation. I moved into the hallway, already dialing. "Dr. Aoyao," I said the second the line connected. "Yes, I saw the page." A brief pause. Then his voice, controlled, but urgent. "We need you back immediately. Complex case. You're the only one available with the right experience." I didn't ask questions. Didn't hesitate. "I'm on my way." I hung up and stood there for half a second. Just enough time to switch. From daughter to who I actually was. When I walked back into the room, no one noticed the difference. My mom was still talking. My aunt still smiling. The same assumptions still hanging in the air. I picked up my coat quietly. No announcement. No explanation. Just movement. Because some things don't need to be said. They reveal themselves. And in a matter of minutes, they were about to find out exactly who had just walked out of that room. I was already halfway to the hospital when it started. Not from me. From them. Apparently, someone at the party had noticed the page. Not the message itself, just the tone shift. The urgency. The way I left without hesitation. And curiosity spreads fast in rooms like that. By the time I reached the parking garage, my phone lit up again. Not work this time. My cousin. Wait, are you actually a doctor? I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because inside that house, the questions were already turning into answers. Someone had looked me up. Someone always does. A name, a hospital, a quick search. That's all it takes. And suddenly, the simple version of me didn't hold anymore. I later found out how it unfolded. At first, confusion. No, that can't be right. Then disbelief. Are we looking at the same person? And then, silence. The kind that settles in when a story collapses in real time. My mom stopped talking. My aunt stopped smiling. Because the details didn't match what they had been saying. Not even close. Chief of neurosurgery. Years of training. Specialized procedures. A career built quietly, without their approval or their understanding. And the part that changed everything? The reason for the page. An urgent case. A situation that required precision, experience, trust. The kind of responsibility you don't give to someone who just answers phones. Back at the party, the energy shifted. Not louder, just heavier. Because for the first time, they weren't deciding who I was. They were learning it. And there's a difference between those two things that you can't undo once it's revealed. By the time my shift slowed down, it was past midnight. I checked my phone during a short break. Missed calls. Messages. More than I'd ever seen from my family in one night. I opened one. My mom. Why didn't you tell us? Another. My aunt. We had no idea. You should have said something. I stared at the screen for a moment. Not angry. Not even surprised. Just aware. Because nothing about me had changed. Not my work. Not my responsibilities. Not the life I had built. The only thing that changed was what they knew. And suddenly, that made all the difference to them. My phone rang again. This time, I answered. Hello. My mom's voice came through, softer than I'd ever heard it. Why didn't you correct me? She asked. I leaned back slightly, letting the silence sit for a second. Would it have mattered? I asked calmly. She didn't answer. Because we both knew the truth. Before tonight, it wouldn't have. There was a pause on the line. Then, we're proud of you, she said. I closed my eyes briefly. Not because it meant something, but because of when it came. Okay, I replied. Just that. Nothing more. Because respect that shows up late doesn't feel the same. And for the first time, I wasn't looking for it anymore. I didn't go back to the party that night. Or the next one. Or the one after that. Not out of anger. Just distance. Because once you see something clearly, it's hard to go back to pretending. A few days later, I stopped by my parents' house. Not for a gathering. Just to talk. My mom opened the door, her expression softer, more careful. Like she wasn't quite sure who I was anymore. We sat in the living room, the same place where everything had happened. Only this time, it was quiet. I didn't mean to downplay what you do, she said. I just didn't understand it. I nodded. I know, I replied. And I did. Because it was easier for them to simplify me than to really see me. But that's not really the point, I added. She looked at me, waiting. The point is, you didn't ask. That landed. Not harsh. Just honest. For a long time, I continued, I let you define me in ways that were easier for everyone else to accept. I paused for a second. But I'm not doing that anymore. She didn't argue. Didn't try to explain. Because this wasn't a conversation about the past. It was about what happens next. I stood up, picking up my bag. I'm still the same person, I said. I just stopped shrinking to fit the version you were comfortable with. And as I walked out, it didn't feel like distance anymore. It felt like clarity. The kind you don't lose once you finally choose yourself.